Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with another sleazy, cheesy slasher review. This time it's for 1985's Junior. Junior is an obscure 80s slasher film that a lot of people don't actually consider to be a slasher film. However, it was marketed as one, and it's definitely sleazy and cheesy, which is why I am featuring it in this series. I personally do consider it to be a slasher. Sure, it crosses genre lines, but it meets enough qualifications to be classified as one, in my opinion. Junior is also known as A Cut Above and Hot Water. I can definitely understand the title Hot Water, since that phrase is used a few times throughout the movie, including the song in the opening scene. Now brace yourself for this brief synopsis. The two female leads, Casey and Joe, no, not Casey and JoJo, the R&B singers from the 90s, have just been released from prison. They were two women of the night who are now ready to clean up their lives. Upon their release from prison, they are immediately met by their pimp. And we, as the viewers, get to see just how tough these two chicks are. After that somewhat violent encounter, Casey and Joe have a plan to start over. They head for the ocean, hoping to begin new lives. It becomes very obvious that despite their past reputations, these two women are definitely the good guys. Or girls, I should say. As they reach their destination, they are stopped by the local sheriff, who recommends that Casey and Joe leave town. He claims that he does not want their kind around there. But they assure him that they are just trying to get away from that lifestyle and start a business. They move into a rundown marina and decide that they want to fix it up. Unfortunately, they hit another obstacle, an even bigger obstacle, named Junior. Their first night at the marina, they are woken up by a gang of men from the town. The men have been using the abandoned marina as a hangout, where they all partake in some questionable activities. One of the men is Junior. Junior is, let's just say, mentally challenged. And what Junior wants, Junior gets, by any means necessary. Usually through violence. The other guys are sort of his posse. And the sheriff, who previously told Casey and Joe to leave town, is part of the gang. Junior also has a very watchful mother. And boy, is she creepy. She sort of looks like Jim Varney in a wig. Think of the Ernest movies. We witness many scenes of Junior seeking his mother's approval. Usually for the heinous acts he commits. Casey and Joe meet two men from the town who also seem to have problems with Junior and his posse. The two couples, along with another girl who was almost a victim of Junior, team up. And now it's the five of them against Junior and his gang. It sort of has a Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe. Sounds that way, right? It's kind of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, but by the water. Casey and Joe try their best to live their new lives in their new home with their new boyfriends. But a killing spree begins. So with Junior and his followers behind him, Casey and Joe must fight for their lives. Junior, or A Cut Above, or Hot Water, is one of those movies that I know I saw when I was younger, but I didn't remember too much about it. That is, until I watched it today, for the first time in about 25 years. And while watching it, so much of it came back to me. I love when that happens. I actually received this VHS in the mail yesterday. It's one that I've been after for a while, but it's very hard to find for a good price. The movie has never been released on DVD or Blu-ray in the US, so VHS is the only way to watch it. And it's pretty expensive online when it does pop up. Right now, there are currently no copies available on eBay. And I'm about to make a very bold statement here, but as far as sleazy, cheesy slashers go, this is probably one of my favorites. I absolutely loved it. It is so highly entertaining, very rewatchable, and I already can't wait to watch it again. Watching it on VHS only added to the experience. It was so much fun. There's just something about popping in an old tape that brings back so much nostalgia. The VHS quality really contributes to the grittiness of the film. But this isn't a gritty slasher review series, it's a sleazy, cheesy slasher review. And Junior is filled with sleaziness and cheesiness. In the sleazy category, there is so much gratuitous nudity. So much. And when one of the females is naked, the camera is sure to do an extreme close-up on certain areas. One scene involving a very naked Casey sunbathing. And another involving her tearing off her swimsuit for a good reason. But I won't spoil it here. Another random gratuitous scene involves Casey and Joe skinny dipping, just because they're hot. There are also quite a few sex scenes, two of which really border on the line of softcore porn. I'm not kidding. And one of them involves Junior. There are a lot of C words thrown around, among other vulgarities. And lots of big 80s hair. The cheesiness comes in the form of dialogue. It's not so much the lines or even their delivery, it's just sort of the editing of the film. It's obvious that the lines were dubbed in at a later date because they don't always match the person's mouth. The scenes featuring Junior's mother are also pretty cheesy, despite also being pretty creepy. It's like watching a skinny guy in a wig with bad makeup. But despite all of this, I hold firm what I said earlier. Junior is one of the most entertaining, sleazy, cheesy slasher films I have ever seen. And it shouldn't be too surprising, there is also a great twist. I also want to mention the similarity between a chainsaw scene in this film and the one in Pieces, which confirms my opinion that Junior is, in fact, a slasher film. So, as if you already didn't know, I highly recommend Junior, a sleazy, cheesy slasher of the 80s that I love. Have you ever seen Junior? What do you think of it? Comment below and let me know.